elite
Oh,
nutritionist.
stop it. Stop it. Thank you.
We just thought we'd do a bit of a podcast type of thing, you know, give people a bit of an insight on what you do. You know, we get a lot of people asking a lot of questions about food, what they're eating, calories. But we'll dive deeper into that. The more stuff we do, the more we can dive into it. So, just tell us a little bit about your background. What made you start your fat loss journey in the first place?
Yeah. So I have to be careful with this because I tend to go off on tangents. So if I do, just try and bring me back. You know, listen, everyone's different, but for my fat loss journey, was a case of, and some people might not agree with this, some people might, you know, I know a lot of my clients would. The initial one was not wanting to be fat anymore. Yeah. And I know it's a difficult one to say because we live in this era now where it's quite a problem to say fat or the F word. Yeah, but I know for me, and if we're being brutally honest, the start of my journey was not being happy with myself, being overweight, not liking who I seen in the mirror, and wanting to change.
Yeah.
Now that's not to say that what come with it, you know, in the future, when we take it up levels, you know, we start to learn and we see the benefits of feeling healthier and what that brings when we lose weight and the changes in blood markers. Yeah, they was to come, but initially it was that depression.
You know, I think everybody has that point, don't they? You know, and but where this gets started, you know, like you got yours, mine's with my little boy. I was playing with him. He used to be fit as a fiddle. He's box professional. He used to be fit. Retired.
Yeah.
Baby come. Had a bit of time off training, about a year. Put loads of weight on. And then I was just playing with him one day, and I was literally out of breath. Like I just had him on my shoulders running around the house, and like literally, and that day with that day, it was like, no, that's.
And I imagine that probably got you down as well, didn't it?
Yeah, of course, you know, and I've got he's a little boy, so like, now he started football, I've got to join in. Yeah. So it's like, no, I've got to be a little bit fitter than I am.
Completely.
Yeah, you know. So, you know, and everybody's got their own personal reason for.
Agreed. Yeah, and I see that with a lot of the clients that I work with now. He's just wanting to feel more comfortable. You know, when that initial question of why do you want to do it, wanting to feel or wanting to feel healthier or wanting to feel. Yeah. So, and the same with you when it comes to that is wanting to be the best for your little lad. Yeah,
of course.
No, so I agree.
So we see a lot on like Instagram, Facebook. You know, it's big these days. Influencers, you know, whatever. You know, so we're talking about like fad diets. Yeah. I know you've tried quite a few of them.
All of them. bingo. Yeah, I've got bingo out of all of them.
Give us a insight on like which ones did you try?
And again, just to briefly say, I love the fact that we're doing this now because that was it. You know, trying all of them, and it's until we get to the realization of the crux of what it takes to lose weight, we will try and do anything. Yeah. So to answer your question, what did I try? I remember the first one I tried, and this was when I was younger. Other than going to the world of slimmers with my mum or the Watchers of Weight with my mum, you know what I'm trying to talk about. But I think the first fad diet was something like the Atkins diet, which was very much similar to sort of your keto or your carnivore now, which is your high protein, high fats, lower carb, if not no carb sort of diet. Yeah, so they were the first ones. And when we speak like this, I need to make it clear that I am not against any diet or any sort of lifestyle. Whatever works for people works for people, and each sort of diet has its own benefits. Yeah, and they will have their own benefits. But looking at it now, we want quick fixes, and that's what I wanted. Yeah, I expected to gain. Well, I gained the majority of my weight over 20 years, but for some reason I thought I'll lose it in 12 weeks. Yeah, and that's the mindset that a lot of people have now, right? We have this 12 weeks in our head. We spend years and years gaining weight. oh right, but I'm going to do this with this diet in 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So the first, to answer your question, the first one for me was the Atkins diet. And don't get me wrong, it did work. A lot of water weight lost, but I slingshot back up. Yeah, I put the weight straight back on.
Yeah. So the next question was, did any of them work short term? But I think you did.
Yeah.
You kind of answered that. What went wrong with it? Like.
Yeah. So if we're just looking at that particular diet, but like with most diets, is a lot with these quick fixes and I know with me, tend to lose quite a lot of weight, whether that's water weight initially, or they're quite restrictive in a way, where we will drop a large amount of weight in a short space of time. However, it's not sustainable, and we end up ballooning back up or slingshotting it even higher than where we went to.
Yeah.
So that's why you repeat the same things over and over again and expect a different outcome, that's the definition of insanity, and it takes so long to realise that that's not working.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just repeating them same things, but going straight back up after.
Yeah.
A lot of people can tough out. We speak to most people now. They can tough out a diet. Most people, a lot of people I know in my family, but it's sustaining the diet that's the hard part.
That's the main one, isn't it? The sustainability.
The sustainability,
That's a big one. Finding something that works for you and something that you can sustain for
definitely
a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, you must have had a lot of people come up to you, Mike, and gone, like, even have a look at you now, like you're sustaining this now.
Yeah.
It's the people that come up to you, and God bless them, and I was one of them people for many years. Oh, Micah, do you know what? I've lost 4 stone. Yeah, I've lost 4 stone in 12 weeks or whatever. I've lost 4. But what's more impressive is, have you maintained that? How long have you maintained that for? That's what we want to hear now.
It's getting it off.
Yeah.
Keeping it off.
Exactly.
And that's where the sustainability comes in, doesn't it? That's how you've got to change your life to.
Definitely.
To keep the weight off.
Yeah.
Were there any of them that you look back on and thought, why the hell were I doing that?
Let's have a think. Was there any? It would probably be most recently, other than fasting. It would be the more one is carnivore at the moment. Yeah, because again, just looking for the quick fix.
Yeah.
But now I know what I do know and the knowledge I have around calories. When we do things like, let's just say, for example, carnivore, what are we actually doing? We are basically cutting out a macronutrient. Yeah, so in this case, it's carbohydrates, right? So in the overall grand scheme of things, by cutting out a macronutrient like carbohydrates, we're reducing our calories. Yeah. So that could work either way. Now, ideally, we don't want to cut out protein, but if I cut out fats completely and just had carbohydrates and protein, again, I would be reducing my calories.
Yeah.
But I couldn't see that. And the reason we're doing this podcast now is most people can't see this.
No, yeah.
Is without realising they're creating a calorie deficit. It's not necessarily the fact that they are cutting out carbohydrates, although that will result in a lot of water loss.
Yeah.
It's more to do with the fact that they're creating this calorie deficit by just completely alienating a macronutrient like carbs. Yeah. So that's where, if I look at it, I think the amount of times I did that by thinking, if I just go vegan, well, yeah, because I've cut everything else out. Yeah.
At what point did you realise that they weren't working?
It was when I kept bouncing back up. Yeah. Listen, and it's
the rebound.
Yeah, it's again, why are we doing this now, me and you? And the reason I'm so passionate about it is because of that many scaremongers. Again, people that mean well, yeah, but that many scaremongers on our social media these days of don't do this, or avoid drinks out of bottles because of microplastics, or only have carnivore, or only eat between 8 and 12. Yeah. The reason I'm doing it now is because once we realise that it's just for me, again, everything has its benefits, but when we have a balanced plate of food, that's fats, carbs, protein, And we realised that no matter what the diet, as long as we're in a calorie deficit, the law of thermodynamics tells us we're in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. If you eat more calories, so calorie surplus, if you eat more calories than you're meant to, you're going to gain weight.
Yeah.
There is no change in that. That is the fact. Yeah.
No matter which way you look at it, that's,
so this
that's
is
the way it is.
yeah, this is why, you know, like, that's the point of, like, you know, your question is, you know, why are we doing that now? Is because of the realization of that. Yeah, and once that penny clicks,
yeah,
you know, and it's not about the fad diets and more about that, life is so much easier.
Yeah, so a lot of people have got the quick fix mindset, you know, like we're talking about. How did you manage to break yourself out of that?
Yeah, it was when, I'm trying to put me, it was actually probably when I come back to elite boxing.
Yeah.
And I had a complete mind change anyway when I come back. But I knew that if I keep repeating what I'd done in the past, I'd get the same outcome.
Yeah.
So I started watching more science-based approaches on your Instagram. You know, more than these fear mongers. Yeah. So when I started watching more science-based people and actually getting an understanding of macronutrients, about calories, about how the body works, was that turning point of when I come back to elite, let's do things different now. Let's not look for a quick fix.
Yeah.
So when we start looking for something different than what's not been working, I started watching these people slowly, steadily, like they always say, you know, that tortoise in the race. Yeah. But that's when things just started happening. Just keep putting one foot. And like I say to my clients now, they see, like, let's say between 0.5 and 1% body weight drops each week. That's the sort of pace we want.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we have to take diet breaks in between, we can take diet breaks. Yeah. But we keep it just steady, and they're the ones that are going to be sustainable.
Yeah. So what finally helped you drop the fat?
Again, going back to listening to these sorts of people online, but it was seeing the results for myself rather than listening to the likes of. I could put on, if I wanted to, I could put on Instagram now how blueberries have completely, and if I did a blueberry diet, it would completely change your life. And it's sad to think, and I know we're laughing, but it's sad to think, but there'll be people out there like, right, Boovy's done this blueberry diet. Yeah. So it's a case of watching the people that are more science-based, understanding that just having a balanced plate of food, and not having to believe everything that you see on Instagram. Yeah. Because, again, another reason why me and you are doing this now. And again, there's levels to where we're going. So each podcast we do, we can talk about building lean muscle mass, or going down to your sub 10% body fats, or the benefits of something like fasting, because there is benefits to everything. Yeah. But right now, we're talking about the people that just want to get started. Somewhere where me and you both was. They haven't got a clue. They open up Instagram, and that would have them not drinking Diet Coke, not having water in the morning, scared to death to have oats in the morning. You know, they wouldn't have a clue where to start. So that's why, you know, we're doing this now. Yeah.
So we hear a lot about balance in life. But what does that actually mean for you on a day-to-day basis?
Again, learned so much from this. But balance is about, I'm working with a client at the moment, and I will bring you back to me, but we're going through this at the moment. So he's done tremendously well. I won't mind me mentioning his name, Darren. He's done really good, and he's dropped a vast amount of weight. So we're talking, where do we go from here? And it's about, unless you're competing or you've got a fight coming up or an event coming up or anything specific, which we can look at that again in the future, it's about understanding how you can live more normally, and go out with his missus and enjoy food, and go out with his kids and enjoy food. So again, and I said it, same for me, you know, when I'm not training towards specific things, it's about being able to have what I want, you know, for my breakfast, or maintaining a certain amount. It's like me and you just spoke about before we mentioned then. One big turning point for me was understanding that anyone that's got a specific goal, let's say, making this up, but Sandra wants to lose £30. So she's got this goal, and she has to be in a calorie deficit in order to reach this goal. Yeah. Everyone thinks, and once you understand this, it makes life so much easier. Everyone thinks that hard work going from now to losing £30, so she'd have to be in this calorie deficit, that's going to take some hard work.
Yeah.
But once she reaches her goal, and this is where it switched for me, it's not going to be hard anymore, because now Sandra, she can maintain. Yeah, so she can bump her calories up and maintain. But for a long time, people like me, people like Darren, we assume, or the penny doesn't click, that you think in order to get to these nice, or you know, whatever body fat percentages you want to get, or performances, life is always going to be hard. No, of course it's difficult. It was difficult, you know, we didn't put the weight on easily. It's going to be difficult getting it off. Well, it was easy actually, yeah. But getting it off was, you know, was going to be difficult. But when you reach that, or whatever your specific goal is, we look at going to maintenance then, and then we have a balanced day. So like my life now is balanced. I'm going on holiday tomorrow. You know, I'll enjoy it with the missus. Eat different foods, and just try and keep that balance. You know, enjoy a few ice creams as well.
Yeah, definitely. Next one's a big one for me. Counting calories. I was just talking about this before I put the camera on. You know, there's loads of apps out there for tracking calories. You know, I actually enjoy seeing what I'm putting in. I like seeing on my watch what I'm burning. I think it's a good thing for me. It keeps me on track.
Did you enjoy it at first?
No, it felt like a chore at first. It felt like I was like, why am I doing this? Like, you know, and it was a little bit of a chore until I got into that routine. Until I started doing it every day, and you know, and being persistent with it. But no, I didn't enjoy it at first.
No,
no, definitely.
No, but that's brilliant, because a lot of people don't. But then when they start tracking,
I find it interesting to see what goal, what you're putting in, and you know, and just being honest with it. You know, if you have a chocolate bar, stick it on. You know, it's just
of course,
thing, obviously, I know you used to do that. Tracking your calories, did it work for you?
Yeah, definitely. And there'll be a lot of this. I think the next one we'll talk about. I know you mentioned you wanted to talk about calories, you know, and like we said, there is so many different levels to these talks we can have for building muscles, you know, for performance. Right now we're talking about the basics, and it should be all about the basics, the foundations to start with, just like anyone. And only when I started counting calories, when I listened to these people online, more science-based people, like your Jeff Nippers, Mike Israel. I remember the first one, no nonsense talker, and if you're not following, follow him, James Smith. For years, he was the first one I started following years ago, and from then he was saying about calories in, calories out. But it's not considered sexy to us, is it? No. You know, because sexy right now is, oh yeah, I'm going to do the carnivore diet. Oh yeah, I'm going to fast for 24 hours, or, you know, I'm going to drink lemon tea or something, you know, all sorts. But at the crux of it is a case of whatever you are putting in to your system, by you recording it and by me recording it, you get a better understanding of what your body's burning and your output.
I think there's a lot of foods as well, what people don't realise how many calories are in. Example, olive oil. Like, no, you wouldn't believe the amount of calories what people like. Loads of oil in the pan, you know, and
it's belted in it.
You know, and you don't realise it, and I didn't realise that until I started. Until I started.
I was like that mayo. It's only a bit of mayonnaise. What was it, about 1,000 calories later?
This much for 100 calories or something. It's crazy, you know. But that's another one that we'll touch on. When we do the calorie one.
But a great example though. That's you're right in what you said. Because that is another reason. Going back to your point, is another reason why if you are not, or if you take anything from today, if you are not calorie counting or looking onto the app, maybe just start looking on the app, because I bet when you started, if you were anything like me, you didn't realise how much you were having, you know, until you seen it. I know I've got people that come up to me now and they go, Boovie, I don't understand, I'm not losing weight. You know, I can't understand, I eat dead healthy, I'm not losing weight. And one of the first things I say, do you track your calories? And they go, well, no. I said, like, just do, before you come back to me, and it's not trying to be arrogant, it's before you come back to me, go away just for a week, yeah, and I'd suggest this to anyone listening, is just for 1 week, and I know it's going to take a bit of effort, track your calories, and that's everything, even this with 10 calories, yeah, and I know it seems daft, 10 calories, track everything that goes into your mouth, like your meals, you know, your seasonings, even if they've got calories in, and you'll realise, and it's not a case of you were wrong, you actually thought I thought I was eating healthy at points, and then at the end of the day, you realise, God, I was eating 800 calories more, I'm in 800 calorie surplus here. Yeah.
You could put an extra 250 calories in through the oil that you're cooking in.
Yeah, definitely. No, yeah.
And that's like your deficit, you know, if you're in a deficit.
That's it, gone, innit? Yeah, in like 2 more seconds, yeah. Mad.
Yeah. What differences did you see in your energy, your mood, your confidence? Did you see any through your change of lifestyle, counting calories, you know, etc.?
Yeah. Again, so like we said at the start, when this started, I will never lie, you know, to anyone, because I think people want honest. Yeah, it started out, I didn't want to be fat. I was miserable. Yeah, the fat word. However, when we do start to see things change, and when we go through, you know, start progressing and go up different levels, and my sleep got better, you know, my relationships around people got better, my confidence got better. Enjoying I know a big one was in summers. I don't know whether you've ever done this, but people that wear hoodies or jumpers in the summer because they're ashamed, you know, of how they're looking.
Yeah, I've been
you know, just doing things like that. You know, and it might seem little or mad to somebody else that's not experienced it, but them things, you get such more of an appreciation on life and enjoying things. But not only that, a better understanding around food and the behaviour around it.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely do. And like you say, you touched on that with the hoodies walking around in summer, you know. I've been there, I know loads of other people.
Sweating, trying to do pads, like padding, getting sweat everywhere.
Sweating more than that.
Why are you wearing a hoodie and padding? Like,
So, relationship with food and all that, this is a big one. A big one for me. How has your relationship with food changed?
Now, it was more, if we speak about relationship with food, it was more to make myself feel better when I was very overweight. Yeah. I used food just like a drug. Yeah. Whereas now, I still enjoy food, don't get me wrong. Just like everyone does. Give me a pint of Ben and Jerry's and that's getting smashed. But it's moderation, you know, and it's understanding that's not all the be all and end all, and understanding like the different relationships, like when we are, and this is further advanced, but how food can be used as a fuel, like carbohydrates, glycogen. So I'd use a lot of that, you know, pre and post workout in that sort of anabolic window. So it's understanding how food can be used as a tool as well, and we can go down that route further.
Yeah, you get a lot of it with a lot of food noise. You know, I used to always have that food noise, and that was the bane for me. That you know, I'm hungry, I'm not going to eat. You know, and that's, you know, my whole through tracking the calories. That's where my relationship with food changed. You know, seeing how many calories are in olive oil, seeing how many calories and sugars in a chocolate bar. You know. It's just stuff like that, you know.
The realisation, isn't it? And I don't know whether you got this as well, but a lot of boredom eating. Do you know, when I say that, I mean, now, God, if I look back now and I think you're eating, you're not even hungry, but you're eating because you're bored, or you just sat there, you're doing it, you don't need it, but then picking the wrong things. So.
Have people around you been influenced and you know, by your journey? I know you've been on a big journey, you lost a lot of weight. People around you, friends, family, missus, have they been influenced by you?
Yes, so if we start with family, you are, and I know me and you spoke about this in the past, but you are your surroundings.
Yeah.
So I think if one person or a couple of people in your family are doing certain things in the positive direction, it's infectious, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
So and not
a bit
only
like downstairs.
yeah, of course.
A bit
yeah.
like coaching, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And then they tend to, you want each other's advice then, and then one person helps another one, you know, and then another person. But not only that, you know, we spoke about family, but with your friends as well. I know, so I used to live with Scott, and he would tell me, you know, enough things about, you know, training, nutrition. He was always planting seeds, you know, in my head, you know, about doing that. Maybe I didn't want to listen at the time, but it was always up here, you know, and so no matter when you're around someone, never assume that they're not getting anything from you. Yeah, because I know if you used to look at me back then, you'd think I wasn't getting anything from Scott. But fast forward a few years, a lot of what he said, you know, and I'm using that still to this day now.
Clicked.
Yeah. So you are your surroundings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it clicked. It click's done it, you know, if you've got people around you, like we have downstairs, you know. We coach a lot of people downstairs, so they're influenced by us, you know, and it's who you're surrounded by.
Like somebody will look at you now, I mean, you've done well, really good, over the last year now.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt people are coming up to you now saying, Mikey, how are you doing this? How are you sustaining this? Because I've been there, so I've no doubt, and I've said it to you.
People
like, even before we started this now, I've just said, so what are you doing now, Mikey? How are you sustaining it? So that's the sort of effect you have.
Yeah. You know, but we can dive deeper into that when we do the calorie one of our beer all day.
Oh yeah. I know it.
So someone listening or watching this podcast, and they're stuck in the cycle of the fad diets we talked about. What's your advice to them people?
Okay, so like we just said then, understand that I'm not telling you, or we are not telling you what to do. Yeah, I've made my own mistakes, so by all means go out and make any mistakes you want. And not necessarily all mistakes. Like I said, everything's got its benefits. I mean, if we look at fasting, all right, we're in a caloric window, so we're probably still in a calorie deficit, but the fact that we're giving our guts a rest, you know, that helps. Yeah, so everything's got its benefits. But my advice would be, if you've tried all these different things, go away for a week, like we just said, get a calorie calculating app, and it is a bit of effort. Keep your proteins high. So one thing we don't really want to be changing is protein. So try and keep it a gram per pound of body weight, your target body weight for now. I mean, there's discrepancies around science with that, but let's just say a pound per gram body weight. Then sort of aim for 0.3 grams. We can go further into this, but 0.3 grams of fat per pound of target body weight. Yeah, and then make the rest up with carbs. So you've got a balanced plate of food there, your fats, your carbs, your proteins. One thing we don't really want to be changing is your protein, but we can mess around with the others.
Yeah.
So, but go out, get a calorie calculating app. It'll help you set their macros up anyway, so please don't stress about that. And just spend a week just recording everything that you're putting in your mouth, food and drink wise, and then see where you go from there.
Yeah, I say that to a lot of people downstairs. You know, a lot of people come to me and say, I'm not losing weight, or I've tried this and it's not working, and like tracking your calories, the apps are free.
Yeah, of course.
Just download it.
Yeah.
And just track it.
Yeah.
For a week, track your steps.
Yeah.
See what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's simple.
But do you not think, and I think me and you might have been guilty for it. Well, I know I was guilty for this. There's too much effort, that. Whereas, how much easier is it for me to go, I'm going to do carnivore for 12 weeks, and then I don't have to worry, even though you do have to worry about calories, but for some reason we just think, I just won't eat carbohydrates because that's less effort, but it doesn't work. No. Well, I know it didn't work for me. Again, it might have some benefits, but we look, again, I know I did, we look for easy options, whereas we didn't put it all on in one night. You're not going to lose it all in 12 weeks for some reason. You know, that's... So just
unrealistic goal.
That's it. Perfect.
And having an unrealistic goal.
Yeah.
That's how you end up.
Yeah.
Snowballing back into.
Of course it is.
How you was, maybe probably even worse than what you was. You know, because it's not working, and then.
No.
You just thinking,
Definitely.
well, I'm going to
Yeah, it is.
eat whatever.
Because that's what happens every time. Yeah. Or you'll do your 12-week, and I don't mean to keep saying carnivores. There's other ones, you know, your paleo, your OMAD, whatever. There's loads. Yeah. But you might do it for your 12 weeks, and you'll lose a substantial amount of weight.
Yeah.
But then if it's like me, you'll shoot back up. So you'll yo-yo diet constantly, and then you'll constantly think, oh, forget that. I'm not doing that again. You know, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Well, try a different way this time.
Yeah, different approach.
Yeah.
Different approach.
Definitely.
So a little bit of tips for people who are watching. If you knew one thing earlier now, then what would it be? You know, because the journey's been big on it, you know.
Yeah. If I knew one thing earlier, without sounding like a broken record, it would be, and I know I've already said it, but it would be not to believe every bloody thing I heard on social media. You know, take it as gospel. Go and try. If I'm speaking to myself, I'm glad. I would have changed anything? No, it's helped me learn a lot about nutrition. It's helped me able to help people now. But I mean, if I could turn back time and I had the option to go a lot faster, it would have been just calorie counting. It would have been monitoring and calorie counting, and then looking at the nuances of how many carbs do I need or how many of this, depending on the performance. But again, we can go down them routes at other points.
I think a big one as well is it's okay to make mistakes, you know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think, I made a mistake, like, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and it is, you know.
Of course.
Like, something that'll work for me might not work for you. Something that might work for you might not work for me.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
And I think it's important to make them mistakes because that's where you learn.
Yeah.
You know, that's where you grow. You know, and that's a bit like boxing, what we teach. You know, it's if you make mistakes, you know, you're learning. It's not that you're wrong. It's
no, that's well said, and I'm glad you've said that, because the way I'm talking now is, listen, fasting. As long as we're in a calorie deficit, if fasting works for you, I mean, the break on your gut, that's a big positive, but if fasting works for you and that fits into your lifestyle, and that is sustainable, the best diet is the sustainable diet.
And we've spoken about this before, haven't we? That, you know, there was, like, I've tried them. I've probably tried both of them, to be fair.
Twice.
Twice, maybe even 3 times, but, like, the one that you can sustain, for me, it's calories.
And that's for me.
Tracking what I'm eating. You know, if I have a quick look at my watch, I'm not burning that much today. I've been in office a little bit. I've not got my steps in that much. Right, I won't have that protein bar that I brought with me, or I won't have that drink that I brought with me. You know.
But why is that? It's because you know, you just said it works for you, works for me. I think for people like us, and I know a lot of other people, is because it's enjoyable. It gives us more freedom. Whereas we're not as restricted. So if you had a move more and you want your grenade bar, or I'm not sponsored by them, by the way, but if you want anything like that, is you can have it. And it's in your macros. You know, like, whereas if you're on whatever other and you think, oh no, I can't have that. You know, it's you know, gluten in that. Oh no.
So it's funny you just mentioned that. So the next one's about the influencers. You know, we see so many of them. You know, I open my Instagram and it's full. It's full, and I'm watching them sometimes. And they do get you up. They do get you watching them, and the way they come across.
Lose £10 in a week. Sold. Let's do it. I'm in.
You know, there's a lot in there. You know, there's so many that, you know, there's loads of them. There's loads of them telling you not to have stuff. Plastic. Drinks out of plastic.
Oh, this would have me dead in a week. This, wouldn't it? Go on.
Well, what's your opinion on that? I know my opinion, but what's your opinion on it?
It is, and it's the same with me and you now. Is we mean well, so I'm trying to be politically, you know, like, correct and not show so much hate, but we mean well, and I know a lot of other people mean well, and I know there's ways of going about it though, and you know what, I get told for not naming, but somebody like Eddie Abu, is the way he speaks, and I believed him for a while, you know, and then
I see a lot on him, to be fair.
And then he'll go out. Listen, I was 24.5 stone, yeah. And I've seen him, you know, he'll go out and try it. And then come back to, listen, I've been there, I've done it, I've tried it, it didn't work. Yeah. But at the start, you know, if I was watching somebody like him, I'm sorry to pick on him, but he's like probably one of the worst cases of calling people the C-bomb and all sorts because they have a bit of honey or something.
Yeah.
Is go out, you know, and try things, but don't believe all of these people that want to scare you. You know, stuff like, let's forget Eddie for a minute and let's talk about people regarding what's the craze at the minute, seed oils, you know, social media and seed oils. And listen, show me a study that's, you know, a meta-analysis where seed oil's bad for you. You probably won't find one. It's probably the seed oils in the double cheeseburger, Big Mac, McFlurry, everything. You know, that's probably what's doing you the harm, not the actual seed oil.
The food that it's in, right?
Yeah. So we've to answer your question, and that's the rant over. Is listen, a lot of the social media influencers, just like us, we mean well. But there's ways of going about it, and this is why I'm so passionate about doing this now, because it's about what works for you, not somebody trying to scare you, frighten you to death for having a digestive biscuit. You know, it's madness.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, and I think there's too much of it out there. I think there's too much information. One person's telling you not to have anything. The other person's telling you to have it. You know, and it's.
Poor Sue don't have a clue where to start. Just like we do, you know,
that's the one. That's the one.
Scared to, like we said, it's a basic thing, but scared to have porridge for breakfast. What, porridge for breakfast? Because of what? Because it's going to spike your insulin. What? Yeah.
No, it isn't that, and that's what it is, isn't it?
No,
it's rammed in your face, isn't it? You know, and with your phone and like,
of course,
listens to you, and then it starts pushing that out. No doubt it'll probably come up later when we go on our phones because we've been talking about it. So, just rounding up, finishing off there. So, you're on social media. Where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram, JTV Nutrition. So Boovin9865. So we're affiliated with Elite Boxing as well. Yeah, where I do most of my work and the sports therapy. And just keep an eye out for any further podcasts from myself and Mikey. Yeah. You know, and we'll be going in further, won't we?
Yeah, we're gonna do quite a bit, aren't we? So we've got a lot planned.
Yeah.
So
and
we're gonna do a bit.
Yeah. Any suggestions as well? Like I spoke, because a big one for me is now, and sorry to just touch on this, but is the GLP-1 medications, or glucagon like peptide 1. So you got your Manjaros, your tirzepatides, and then more recently coming out is retatrutide. I'm for the right person, and this is why there's these other people, but for the right person who struggles around their hunger and around their cravings, I think it's a fantastic, fantastic peptide. As long as it's used correctly. So any advice, if people are wanting